taking you on the road today. All right, wanted to get out for the afternoon, so thought this was the perfect day to do a little bit of walk and talk about some random thoughts that have been coming into my head as it relates to fat loss, fitness in general, goal setting, particularly when it comes to high performers, so people who give it all to their work and they require a good level of performance. Yeah, my hair, this is the bane of my existence, this little bit of my hair, and the barber is not addressing it. That'll have to be addressed next time I'm at the barber. But anyway, we drive on. So first thought is I can always respect you if you at least try. So you might not always feel like you're going to be supported in a particular goal. Maybe it's the people around you don't give you that much encouragement. Maybe you feel like you're a little bit against the world when it comes to executing on some kind of self-improvement goal. That's typically just noise coming from your own head, from your own bad experiences in the past. No one actually gives a shit. But what I will say is that, if you fail, who cares? I mean, one of the great things I learned recently, I was listening to a podcast with Chris Williamson, I think, and Naval Ravikant. I can't remember whether it was that one or his appearance on Joe Rogan, but he was speaking about how the modern day concept of failure is actually, it's basically a logical fallacy in the modern day, because failure was a thing when we were, I suppose, in tribes where we were, surrounded by a smaller amount of people, and there were just overall, I'm going to come into the grass because this is going to be less shaky. Yeah, that path is it's causing a bit of shake because this is not a gimbal. But basically what he was saying was that in, hunter-gatherer times, when we were in smaller tribes, failure made a bit more sense because the consequences of screwing up in front of a smaller number of people might have had much bigger consequences. Whereas in the modern day, in society, when we're very much free to try a lot more things, what we're actually doing is running a search function until we're finding the jobs, the relationships, the fitness routines, diets, etc., that are a best fit for us and our particular personality, our particular brain, our particular lifestyle, whatever. So it's more about trying to find the ideal fit rather than, black and white success and failure, which I thought to actually be such an interesting and unique take on the world, that in the modern day we're running a search function. It's not failure or success, which then leads me on to my next point as it relates to fitness and fat loss. So with one of my clients who has been having a very difficult time with his fat loss journey, he's one of the rare exceptions where the standard caloric restriction stuff doesn't really work for him. He's extremely disciplined, he tracks everything, and we have him down to about 1,600 calories a day, which when I started working with him, I never wanted to get him that low, but this is where we are. We've gotten there, despite our best efforts to actually train his metabolic rate to go a little bit higher. At one point, we had him maintaining his weight at 2,700 calories per day. But then to lose weight, it's ridiculous. It's like his body just does not want to go below 95 kilos. And what we've been doing, and it's actually proved a little bit successful, is rapid testing, different implementation methods till we find what works best for him. So beyond the standard, caloric deficit, high protein intake, high fiber intake, yada, yada, yada. What I've been doing with him is, for example, making sure that he cuts off his eating at least 2 hours prior to bed. The theory there is that he's going to get better sleep because of that. If he gets better sleep, his cortisol is going to come down. He's going to be less stressed, and then, weight loss maybe more easier facilitated. The other thing that we're going to do is we are going to cycle his carbs, particularly around his training. So he's going to eat the majority of his carbs around his training window, and then we are going to do a low carb approach in the evening. Now, so far with extending the time between him eating his last meal and going to sleep, his weight has come down modestly, and he's reported that he stopped snoring because he actually got tested for sleep apnea recently enough. That came up that he didn't have sleep apnea, but he did have excessive snoring, and that has stopped since we've brought his eating window in that way, where he has a big gap between eating his last meal and then going to bed. So I do count that as a win, and I think we're moving in the right direction. So yeah, that's the thought there, is that if you are one of these rare exceptions where the standard approach is not working for you, you can try different implementation methods, right? Whether it be intermittent fasting, cutting out carbs, changing your eating window, whatever it is. But I just wouldn't get too attached to any one particular method. You can rapid test them until you find what works best for you, as to the previous point about running a search function. So don't consider it as this is the thing. Which then leads me on to my next point. It's all coming full circle today. So when it comes to trying these different implementation methods, I would be very careful about over-consuming content that's related to them, right? So whether it be intermittent fasting, or it be keto, or it be whatever you're going to try, social media nowadays really segregates us very well into these different little sub-niches, niches, whatever way you say it, where basically we're only hearing the content that we're already agreeing with at that time. And we're only seeing content that maps with our beliefs. It's like taking the belief part of our brain and just hyper focusing on it, right? So you could very easily end up down a rabbit hole and completely indoctrinated in one specific implementation method, rather than seeing the forest for the trees, that there are many different ways that we can get you in a caloric deficit, many different ways we can initiate fat loss. Always remember that, because then any constraint that you choose, right? So any kind of food restriction that you choose, you always have the option to try something else if it's not working. Whereas when you get indoctrinated in any one specific way, it makes it much more difficult to actually drop it and try something else when it's not working. The next thing, okay, oh yeah, power of belief. So we touched on that a little bit there, actually, the belief part of the brain. So this is another thing that you can actually try to tap into as well, aside from all the stuff that's kind of proven to work and the practical, rational stuff. I mean, humans have been leveraging the power of belief since the dawn of time, you know, all the different religions that have come and gone in the world. And, you know, in the modern day, they get kind of a bad rap, but think about all the things that we have built, how far humanity has come, due in large part to the power of belief. So I wouldn't discount it. I would definitely, if you have a fat loss goal, and particularly if it's not going that easy for you, I would try and tap into that. I would look at different ways that you can visualize your end result. I would particularly look to do so in the evening before you go to sleep, when you're a bit calmer, when you have a lot of your conscious tasks done for the day. That's really when you're tapping into the subconscious mind, and ultimately that's what the power of belief is about. It's about using the subconscious mind, which then filters all of the information that you see as you go about your day. So then you get to your the things that work for you that bit quicker. It's like putting on blinders so that you can pursue a particular goal. Okay, what else did I want to cover today?